Hi, Stampers. Welcome to Learning with Friends. I'm Pat Perlis from Fairless Stamp and Flair, and I'm so glad you're here for Fun Fold Thursday. I have a really cool fun fold for you today. It's called a Bandstand Fun Fold, and it looks very impressive, but the best part about it is it looks great, but it's easy. So my favorite two words to describe a card. Although, I don't mind getting messy once in a while, but I'm going to flip my camera down and show you how to make it. So if you watched my video last week with the pointillism technique, I actually gave you a sneak peek of that fun fold. And this was the fun fold I showed you. This is how it sets. So this is definitely mantle worthy. It sets up and displays beautifully. This was the card that I showed you as a sneak peek. So I'm just showing you that again so you can see the fun fold. This is not the card we're going to make. I am going to make a card using the Utterly Amazing suite of products, and we're going to use the bundle Utterly Amazing and the designer series paper, which I think is called Utterly Adorable. It's hard to keep all these names straight, but this is the suite of products we're going to use. So I'm going to start by making the card base first, because that's basically what the fun fold is all about. So let me just get rid of that piece of paper to help us here with timing, so this doesn't get too long and drawn out, because I am kind of a slow stamper. I have pre-cut almost everything, and we are going to score it though, because with unfold scoring is always kind of part of the tricky part sometimes. The first piece we're going to use is, I'm using Balmy Blue as my card base, and this measures 4 1/4 by 5 3/8. Kind of a weird size, I know. And we are going to score this. Make sure you can see this. Yep, we're going to score this at 3/4. Oops, slid on me. 3/4. Got my arms kind of crooked. And 4 5/8, which is here. Which, if it's easier, if you're using your trimmer, this is just 5/8 from this end, so, or 3/4. 3/4 from this end and 3/4 from this end. Let's see. If you're using a scoring pal like I am, or a simply scored tool, then you want it at 3/4 and 4 5/8. If you're using your trimmer, just do it up 3/4 inch from each side. Okay. And let me get this. I'm going to kind of do this step by step. So this is the base of the card. And then we have bands that we will put in the front of it. So this is going to sit like this when we get the bands on. But let's just go ahead and put our designer series paper on here, because we want that on there before we put it together. So I am using, like I said, Utterly Adorable, and we have a piece for each little strip on the side and a piece in the center. So let's just go ahead and add that. Get my snail here. And make sure I get it right side up. I guess if I didn't, as long as they all look the same, I could flip it over, right? But let's at least start with it right side up. It's always a good goal. And like I said, this is so much easier than it looks when you look at the fun fold. Probably I was a little shied away. And I need to bring this over here so I can see I can get it straight here with this one. the other side on. And I flip them this way because I have an easier time of getting things straight than if I'm putting them on vertically. I don't know why. That's just me. You do however you do. So that piece, the front of that piece is now finished. Now we have these two bands that go across the top and the bottom. And I have those cut and we have to score those. So we have two pieces that are 7 by 1 1/4. And we have two of those. And we are going to score those at 3/4, 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6 1/4. And if you're wondering, oh, I didn't get that written down that quick, don't worry. I do have a tutorial here with all the dimensions on it. There's a template on the back that shows your cutting and your scoring. And I will post this tomorrow on my fearlessstampandflair.com website. So you will be able to download that tutorial. The video will be there. It'll all be there. And we'll just make it really easy. So we're going to score this at 3/4. Trying to hold it here. 3/4, 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6 1/4. And again, as you can see, these two pieces on each end are just to throw 3/4 from each end. So I'm going to repeat that on the other one. 3/4, 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6 1/4. All right, and that is all the scoring that we have to do. So let me just move that out of our way. And let me show you how we're going to put this together. I'm going to slightly just kind of crease these here. And I need my parent tape, or you need some kind of a strong adhesive. I am going to use Terran tape. You could use liquid adhesive, just make sure it's dry. You could use Stamp and Seal Plus. But the way this is going to assemble is, as you saw it on the front, it assembles like this, right? Oh, you know what? We should put our designer series paper on here while it's still nice and flat. Let's make life easy on ourselves. So we've got pieces here that are, these outside pieces are 1 inch by 1 1/4, and we cut 4 of those. And then the center two pieces are 1 inch by 3/4, 1 3/4, sorry about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and it's just easier to assemble these while these bands are still flat. We could do it once we assemble it. It wouldn't be terrible, but it is easier to do it while it's flat. So we will just do that. I got a little piece in here. I don't know what that is. I'll stick it underneath. It'll go away. I don't know what that was. Probably like a little scrap or something. As I was setting up and getting everything organized here, I'm like trying to make sure I have everything, because there's a lot of little bits and pieces. And I sit and I stare at the card, even though I have it all written down on my tutorial. I stare at the card and I just kind of look at what supplies I have around here. Do you have this? Do you have this? And man, I kept finding things I had left on the other side of the room. So it's kind of a pain when your video area and your crafting area is not really the same. All right, so there we go. So now how do we get these on here? The easiest way to do this that I have found is this is going to be across the top. One's the top and one is on the bottom, all right? Flip it over and fold these in And what you will see when you fold them in is that you have a little bit of a gap on each side here so that these will fold well. All right. And I'm going to, for some reason, I feel like this one's off. Is it? It's not. I might have scored it just a bit off. But I'm going to lay some tear and tape on here on each side. And that'll just make it easy for us to, easy and less messy, to go ahead and assemble it. And once we get these on, then really all that's left is decorating. So I should probably use my scissors. I tend to tear rather than scissors. They do call it tear and tape for a reason, right? Sometimes it's easier to cut it with scissors, though. Okay, there we go. So let's do these one at a time. So with this facing down, you're going to put this underneath these little pieces off. Let's just do one side at a time. And I'm going to lay this on here, and we're going to line up here across the bottom. So line your two bottom edges, and then you'll just fold that over. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Get that line back up on the bottom. All right, and see there, then there's the bottom of our bandstand. So we will do the same on the top. So we'll go here. If this was directional paper, you'd have to make sure you've got everything flowing in the right direction, right? It's not too big a deal with what I'm using. I'm going to actually grab this and see if I can get these off a little bit better. I'm not an expert at the take your pick tool because I usually just use my fingernails, but sometimes it does come in handy. Okay, so let's fold that in. And get this side, make sure it's lined up back at the top, and fold it over. Okay. And you can play with these a little bit to get it to stand the way you want it, but that is really the fun fold. So see how easy that was? Now we have the fun part. The really fun part left, which is just decorating the card. And I have some of that already done, but I wanted to show you some of it. So for my front assembly, I am going to use Countryside Corners dies, and I am using the 4th largest die, and I will die cut this and run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and voila, it's done. Okay, and then we're going to stamp on here, do a little bit of stamping, bring in this, and I'm going to put some fish down here. These are the otters, so let's go ahead and let the fish have, or let the otters have some food, and we'll put, and I'm going to do this on about the bottom half of this piece. And I'm doing kind of a combination of full strength and stamped off just to give it a little bit of variety of color. And now we want some water up here. So I think before I do that, I could do it now or I can do it last. last. We'll add the water now. What the hell? And I'm just going to put some little bubbles kind of randomly here and there. Okay, because I'm going to put an otter on here, so he's going to get a little covered up anyway. But I do feel like this looks pretty stark and white, so I'm going to take my blending brush and just put a little bit of color on here, just to kind of soften the white so it's not quite so stark white. Kind of like that. Now I have a mat, and I wanted that to be pretty peacock. And if I took the neck size die cut, instead of the 4th, I went to the 3rd largest. I had a really wide border, and when I laid that on here, it just felt too thick and bulky. I didn't really want it that big. So what I did was I just cut a piece of Pretty Peacock, which is 3 5/8 by 2, and again, this is all on the tutorial. And I'm going to adhere this right to that. And get my top, my sides, and my bottom borders as close as I can to equal. And I could just leave it like this, but I thought it's easy enough. Just take your paper snips and snip it off, whatever your edge is here along the edges. Just clip your corners. So when you have dies that you want to layer, that's a good way to do it, is just cut this. If you want an 1/8 inch gap, cut it a 1/4 inch bigger than your finished size of this in both directions, and then you can just put it and snip your corners. As long as you got straight. Round stuff's a little harder, right? If you have ovals or round things. So now I'm going to attach this on here, and I'm going to do that with dimensionals. And what I found was the easiest for me, because this covers pretty much this whole front section here, is I just put dimensionals right at this bottom edge on the top one, and right on the top edge on the bottom one. And when I say right on it, I mean it's down a little bit, right? And then on the back of this, I can just put one here in the center. Now I know they're all going to be hidden in the right place. Sometimes if you try to get them on here, you get them too far down and then they hang over the edge. It's just easier this way to get them in the right spot. Because you wouldn't want, if I put a dimensional on here and I got it a little too far down, and let's say it was half on, half off, now when this goes down, it's going to stick to that. So we would not want that. Make sure I have my fish here on the bottom. And just kind of center this. Give it a good press. Okay, now all we've got left is our otter. So we can stamp our otter. And I'm just stamping him on basic white because I'm going to color him with Stampin' Blends. Okay. And then there is a coordinating die that we can die cut him out. So again, by magic, he's done. The colors of blends I used on here for him, I did his bottom of his face and his tummy with ivory, and the rest of him is blended with pecan pie. So those are the colors I used. Now, I want to give him a fish, and I want him to hold that fish. So there are dies in the coordinating stamp set, there is a die. Let's get some of these out of here. Some of them are really tiny. That I pre-cut out of, here's one of the dies. These are all little fish. And then here's a die that makes a couple little larger fish. So I did pre-cut these out of Pretty Peacock, and I have some here. And I really want him to be holding one of these fish. But if I just look at like that on the top of his paws or his hands, it doesn't look like he's holding on to it. So I got a little bit brave, and I decided to take a utility knife. And these are just some of my tricks here. And I cut around his paws. All right. So you do want to be careful because these utility knives are nice and sharp. And I really don't want to cut my finger. And let's do this one too. And I'm cutting on the outside of his paws as best I can, outside the line, because that way you will still see the whole stamped image of the paw when I tuck his little fish in there. Now sometimes it's kind of hard to get these cut all the way through without cutting yourself. This is probably something I could have had pre-done, but I kind of wanted to show you how I did it. And once you get this through, you can stick your utility knife in there, and then you can just kind of cut around the paw. You see what I'm doing? Hopefully, I should bring it up closer. It's kind of like it's stable down on the table because I don't want to slice my finger. All right, so let me just, okay, that little paw is free. This one still needs just a little bit more cutting. Once you get it through in one spot, it's a lot easier because you can stick your utility knife through. Just don't poke your finger on the back side. And then we just sort of slide it around the paw. It's partially cut because when I did it, when I traced it, but this makes sure it's all the way through. So we get a little bit more over here, a little bit there. One little spot that's still not quite free. Right here. Here we go. I think I got him now. Because I want to show you how I took this little fish in there. So he looks like he's holding on to it. All right, that's some little scraps. So I took one of these bigger fish and I just lifted up his paws and slid it right up under there. So see how he's holding it now? You see how he's holding it? And it holds pretty well. You can take a little bit of, just a little dab of liquid glue, or probably even a glue dot if you wanted. Liquid glue is probably the easiest to get under the little fish's head, although I probably got way too much because that's a new glue thing. So, but there we go. There is our little completed otter. Now the other thing I did was I took some of these extra little leftover fish that I have here and put them down here along the bottom so he could have some more fish to catch if he wanted. And the easiest way I found to get these little guys, because they are tiny, is use the sticky thing on the end of your, take your pick tool, this little sticky thing, and pick them up and put them on that way. But what was easiest, if I'd already put some glue on here where I wanted to stick them, and don't get too much because it does kind of goosh. So, and they don't have to be perfectly straight. I don't know. Do all fish swim straight, or do they not? I don't know. Okay, that little fish one must stick where I want them to. There we go. And should I give them another one down here? Maybe one, maybe, yeah, just a couple more spots of glue. And let's put a little itty bitty tiny one back here. And this guy here. Okay, and then we can do the same thing over here. I'm just going to put 3 of them over here. So let's put the big guy in the lead. And we'll have the little guys follow. I think I got that one upside down. That looks like the back side. Here's one more. Is this the back side? Flip them over. Yeah, this is the front. Okay. I could have him be stubborn and swim backwards too. There we go. So this absolutely has nothing to do with making the fun fold. Hopefully the fun fold is easy enough for you to figure out without doing it twice, but I think it's pretty easy and straightforward how to do it. And I'm just going to pop him on a couple little dimensionals and put one right over the fish and the paws, just to kind of give them a little support there. And I probably need a tiny dimension down here by his tail. Okay, almost done. With the front of the card. So let's let him sit right about there. And I pre-made and pre-stamped a sentiment. I used the sentiment "Lots of Love" from the stamp set, and I used one of the friendship dies, Friends for Life dies, to cut this. And we are just going to stick him right there. So let me just snip this off straight. And I will stick that above him. And then what I'm going to do, because you're probably wondering, well, where am I going to write my message? There's no place to sign my name or the person's name I'm sending it to. So we're going to do that on the back. Okay, and we can add some little changes to that when we're done. But for the back of the card, I decided to take some pretty peacock cardstock, and we're going to lay it on here. And the same on the outside, I have a couple mats made of pretty peacock. Because you do kind of want to cover these up. I mean, they're not the prettiest things to look at. So I just put a strip of pretty peacock over that with some designer paper. And I've used the same designer paper that I had for the inside of the bandstand. So let's just add this here. And I think I didn't get that one up high enough, so you know what? I'm going to cheat and trim it off. And do the same thing here. This one, maybe just a little bit more. And And there we go. So let's go ahead and put that on our two outside panels. And now again, make sure I got it right side up. So this is the top of the card, and I have to put it sideways. So, and I like to kind of cover up most of that edge that's nearest the score line, this edge here. I like to, even if I have to scooch it over a little bit, I'm good with that, to cover up that edge. Just makes it look a little more finished. Okay, and this goes this way. So, and now for the center, I just stamped, one of the stamps from this set says, "You're utterly amazing." So I just went ahead and stamped that on the basic white with pretty peacock. I could stamp some little wreaths or something on here if I wanted to. But I decided I just would keep it simple. And we will put that on our pretty peacock. I think somebody would like getting this card, don't you think? It's kind of fun just to let them know you're thinking about them, you think they're amazing. Obviously, you could use different sentiments, could be birthday, thank you, pretty much anything that you wanted to make it. But now that we add this on the back, we've got a place to put their name and sign a little note to them. So there is that card. Should we put some gems on here? In this product suite, the suite comes with these Riverside irregular pearls, which are kind of iridescent color. So we could just put a little, I'm going to use the little ones. I don't think I need I think the big ones might be a bit much. We'll just give them some water bubbles, maybe. Kind of looks like little water bubbles, doesn't it? There, gives them just a little bit of shimmer and shine. Always need a little bit of bling. So that is our Bandstand Fun Fold. Isn't that cute? Let me show you the others that I have. Clean up some of my mess here. I make the biggest mess when I stamp. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm going to save those couple fish. You never know when I might need another fish. I could put those on the back. Couldn't I? I could stamp fish on the back down here. That'd be cute too. Wow. Sometimes I just have to call it quits. All right, so that is that card. Here is an envelope that I just used for the same designer series paper. And I had made a sample of this, and it turned out pretty much the same. I just used some little different gems. But this was my practice card. And here's the one that I gave you a sneak peek last week on the pointillism. This is pointillism. If you missed that video and that looks interesting to you, go check out last Thursday's video to find out how to do this. But it is the same bandstand card. So I'm going to stand them all up and then I'll lay them down so you can see them. And the last card I want to show you is made with the Storybook Friends bundle or suite of products. And I thought this one turned out really cute. This has a lot of punch outs pre-printed that you can punch out. And so this was super easy. It comes with the dies come with this frame. And this is the designer paper from that, if you can see down in there. It's got some cute little houses. And this is the timeless plaid. Both of these, this suite is in the mini catalog. So that was card number 3. So I hope you like that. I hope you give the Fun Fold a try. Let me flip my camera back over. I think that Fun Fold looks much harder than it is. We actually had the Fun Fold part of it together very quickly, right? It was the decorating that took me a little bit more time, but I hope you like it. I hope you try it. Let me know what you think. I'd love to see your comments. And share the video with your friends so that we can have learning time every week together. We all like to learn new things. And I'm going to wish you a wonderful rest of your week and have a great weekend. And God bless. Thank you for watching.